Heroku's pricing model is a simple, utility-oriented concept that works on a per-app basis. You simply select the resources required to serve your app, and if you ever need more or less, you can easily scale up or down anytime. There are 3 easy steps to selecting a plan that's a perfect fit for your app. First, you choose your database size, then you select your dynos, and finally you choose among these free and paid add-on features. Now, databases and add-ons are going to be pretty straightforward to understand, but what's this dyno thing? Let's talk a bit more about that before we move on. A dyno is a component in our architecture that actually runs your Ruby code. If you were a Java guy, you might call it an app container. Of course, you guys are all Ruby developers, so it'll be more useful to know that a dyno is roughly equivalent to a mongrel, in that it provides one such app server process for serving your dynamic web requests. We actually use Thin here at Heroku, which I'm sure many of you know and use as a drop-in replacement for mongrel. An app can have any number of dynos, and these dynos are distributed across a fully managed grid that spans a large pool of virtual server nodes. If your app has multiple dynos, load is automatically balanced between them through a routing layer. Increasing the number of dynos for an app means increasing concurrency, letting your app serve more concurrent dynamic requests per second. This is similar to what a mongrel cluster would do for you back in the prehistoric age of Rails hosting. Unlike a mongrel cluster, however, adding dynos to your app means getting true redundancy, as these dynos will be distributed across the grid. So if one virtual server instance were to go down and take some of your dynos with them, our routing layer will automatically direct requests to the remaining dynos while replacement dynos are being brought back up. Alright, that's a bit about dynos. Let's get back to pricing. As I mentioned, there are 3 easy steps to grabbing the perfect plan for your app, starting with the database. As you can see, we've got 2 kinds of options for you. Apps with light to medium database needs can use the share cluster represented with these 3 plans here on your left, starting with the free plan, which is small but good enough to get you up and running. More heavy-duty apps with needs for more storage and compute power can choose a dedicated option where you get your own private EC2 instance. Both solutions are fully managed. You don't have to worry about setup, failover, or anything. It's all handled by our infrastructure. For the purposes of this example, I'm going to assume a small Web 2.0 app and select the Crane plan. If I ever wanted to upgrade or downgrade, it's easy. In fact, if you're in the share cluster, it's virtually instant. If you're moving to a dedicated instance, it'll take a few minutes as we provision a new instance for you. Alright, on to our dynos. As you can see here, we give you the first dyno for free, just like any good dealer. How many dynos you'll ultimately need will depend on your app. If it's mostly static assets, for example, you won't need many at all because most requests will be served out of our caching tier. On the other hand, an app with lots of heavy queries and data crunching will need lots of dynos to avoid getting backlogged. The key is you can tailor this exactly to your needs. For most web apps, requests are fairly short though, so we like to say, as a rule of thumb, that a dyno will typically handle 5 dynamic requests per second. That's assuming your average Rails action processes in about 200 milliseconds, which is pretty reasonable. To give you an example, a slash dotting or digging of your small app would typically result in a 10 to 15 requests per second load. Considering a mix of dynamic and requests and static assets being served out of the cache, a couple of dynos should actually be able to handle that easily. We've seen that multiple times on our platform. Again, it's easy to change the number of dynos later, so start with what you think might work, run some tests, and adjust at any time. It'll literally only cost you a few cents to tweak this to perfection. And for this example, I'm just going to go ahead and start with 2 dynos. Finally, let's select some add-ons. For this app, I'm definitely going to want to hook it up with a custom domain, so I'll select the free add-on to do that. I also have some cleanup tasks that I'll be running throughout the day, so I'm going to add the cron option and select the hourly option for $3 a month. And that's it. For $89 a month, I've got an awesome fully managed setup, no provisioning at all. It's ready to go. All I need is to push my code, and I'm in business.